morning, Patricia. Thank you so much for coming in to see me today. How are you feeling?
I'm okay.
Okay. So can I ask you a little bit about what's going on for you and why you're here to see me?
Yes. Look, I've just found out I'm pregnant.
Okay.
But I'm 43,
Right.
and I have 2 almost adult children.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happily married. The baby's my husband's,
Yeah.
not mine.
Yeah.
Look, I think I'm in a bit of shock
Okay.
about it all.
So you're feeling very overwhelmed with this new information and
Yeah.
finding out that you're pregnant? Yeah.
And look, I think what's really worrying me is that I don't feel I can keep the baby.
Okay. You feel like you can't go through the pregnancy?
No, when I think ahead and look ahead, I can't go back to that stage.
Okay.
And I really like my job. I really like my life at the moment.
Okay.
To be honest, this is not planned. And I think what's also really worrying me is that I think my husband, I haven't told my husband yet, is that I think he'll have a very different opinion to me, and he probably want to keep the baby.
Okay. So you're worried that he actually will be looking forward to having another baby?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I can understand your concerns. I can understand that having another baby will impact your life drastically. It makes a lot of changes. And it sounds like you're ready for the next stage of life. You've sort of done the babies and you're ready to move on. Okay. So your main concern is how you're going to tell your husband? Is that right?
Look, I considered not telling him.
Okay.
But I will, and I need to. I know that. But I also, I need to tell him, but I don't know how, if he'll be able to see my point of view.
Okay. So you're worried that he's only going to think of it from his point of view.
Yeah.
And you're worried that he's not going to be able to understand any decision you make regarding the pregnancy.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. What I would like you to do is maybe use your imagination a little bit now for me. And I'd like you to imagine that you went back home tonight and you went to sleep, and when you woke up, a miracle had taken place. And all your worries, all your concerns, all had been taken care of. What would be the first thing that you'd notice?
That I wasn't pregnant.
Okay, yeah.
Maybe that it was a false alarm.
Sure.
Yeah. Did the test and I wasn't.
Weren't pregnant?
Yeah.
Okay. What other things do you notice? How do you feel?
Oh, I would be really relieved.
Yeah.
I'd be just happy to go on in my life the way it is. I feel really satisfied and blessed with what I already have.
Sure.
I would be really relieved.
Okay, so it sounds to me like you're really happy with the way things are going right now, and you're not ready for any major changes. And okay. So how do you think, if this miracle took place, your husband would be? How do you think he'd be?
I think he would be quite sad if he knew I was pregnant. And then we realised I wasn't.
Okay. So you think he'd actually want you to be pregnant?
I mean, it wasn't planned.
Yeah.
So it's not that like that we've been trying, but I think he would be a bit sad that it wasn't going to happen.
Okay.
Once he found out.
Mm-hmm.
I think he would get over it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he might not be as relieved immediately
Okay.
as I am.
Sure.
I would be. But I think he would be okay. He would get used to it. Yeah.
Okay. So how do you think telling him, I guess taking away from these miracle questions, how do you think telling him would actually go if you were to actually have a conversation with him and tell him that you've actually made a decision, but this is where you are right now?
I think he would be quite shocked with the news. I think that it would take him a little while for it to sink in. I don't know that he would really necessarily be able to hear my point of view at the beginning.
Yeah.
Look, and I was shocked. I've had more time to accept it. But I think he would be shocked, but then I think he would be probably quite excited about the prospect of this, and that would make me feel more anxious because I really don't, I just don't see how we can, I feel old and...
Okay, so if you did talk to him about how you're feeling, if you did say to him that this is how I'm feeling, I feel overwhelmed, I feel like I'm not ready, I feel like we've actually passed that, do you think he will hear you now?
Maybe. I think he will try to, but I think he is he's a very optimistic person. He has come from quite a religious background. I think, value-wise, he would have a real problem with stopping a pregnancy. I don't share that view. Okay. So I think it will be complicated.
Okay. So if you did actually go ahead and terminate this pregnancy, how do you think that will impact your relationship?
I feel really anxious about it. I would hope that it would be okay, but I don't know how my husband, I would have to take the decision with him.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know.
Okay. So if he decided that, he couldn't actually support you in your decision, how do you feel about that?
I haven't let myself, I get so anxious when I think about it that I suppose I would have to cross that bridge when I came to it.
Okay.
At this point, I just want him to try and see where I'm coming from.
Okay. So what is one thing you can do to maybe help him see where you are coming from?
I think I can just be really honest with him and just explain to him that I can't imagine carrying this baby now physically and emotionally. I'm doing really well in my job at the moment.
Yeah.
I feel like I have enough time for all the different things in my life, including my children and him, and we still get to go on holidays, and I think I would try to get him to understand that this will have a really big impact on all our lives for a really long time.
Okay, and it looks like it's not just one thing that will be affected, there are many things that will be affected, and you think he will be, how do you feel about talking to him about all these different things, all these different aspects that...
I think that perhaps he might hear it better even if somebody else tried to give my point of view. I think it would be hard for him to understand how I can even conceive of terminating this pregnancy.
Sure.
So I don't know if I feel worried that he will just get stuck on that.
Okay.
But I think if really deep down he could look ahead, he may actually understand a bit better what my concerns are.
You did mention that if he hears it from someone else, so is that something that you would consider?
Yeah. I spoke to a friend of mine, a very close friend of mine last week, and we're very close with the couple, and she offered and suggested that maybe once I've told him that her husband could talk to my husband, just to have another point of view.
Sure.
So I guess that's something I could try.
Okay.
And we do a lot of things, our families are very similar.
Okay. how open do you think your husband will be to having another person's point of view, or someone he's close to?
I think he'd be okay. I think he would just need some time for this to sink in, the actual news to sink in, and then maybe, I think he would be okay with it.
Yeah. And how do you feel about maybe asking this other person to, not just not support you, but maybe even just talk to him so that your husband does get another point of view from there?
I feel okay with that.
You feel okay with that? Yeah. Okay. So, what do you think your next step will be if you've decided that this is what you need to do about the pregnancy? This is what you're going to do to talk to your husband?
Look, I think firstly I just will need to tell him the news.
Yeah, sure.
And then maybe work out and ask him if he would be okay with talking to our friend.
And do you feel comfortable enough to maybe go back and have that conversation? How are you feeling about having that conversation with him?
I think I just need to tell him, and I need to be prepared that his response will be quite different to mine. I think he'll be shocked, but I think he'll be very excited. Yeah. And I don't know how that will feel for me. But I can't take his viewpoint away from him. So I think after that, I would try to ask him to please talk to maybe this friend of ours.
And how comfortable do you feel about doing that?
Yeah, I feel okay.
You feel comfortable about doing that?
I think in some ways it might be better for somebody else to highlight some of the things that are going on in my head.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're quite happy to do that. So do you have a date as to when you need to talk?
Look, I think the thing is with all of it, we don't have forever. We probably have a few weeks to make a decision if we don't go ahead with it. So I know I need to speak to him right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you have maybe tonight, tomorrow? Do you have?
He's travelling at the moment, but he'll be back tomorrow. So
Okay.
I think I have to do it tomorrow, and I might work out for our girls to be out.
And you're comfortable doing that?
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe what we can do is you see how your conversation goes, and then if you need to come back in and talk to me, we'll make another time. How does that sound for you?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. All right. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.